Thanks so much, Erin. Preemptive thanks as well to Sarah from Fresno. Sarah, are you ready? Do you have, and I believe you have slides as well. Is that true?
Yes, I will try to share my screen and bear with me. Maybe I'll
Okay.
hopefully get this correct. Hold on one second. Oops. Let me see, share screen. Let's see. Hopefully we see the slideshow correct.
We got it.
Okay, there we go. Woohoo! Anyway,
Take it away,
technology
Sarah.
is
Thanks so
challenging
much.
at times. Welcome. My name is Sarah Mirhati. I'm presenting on behalf of the City of Fresno. I'm actually the Chief Programs Officer for Poverello House, which is a fancy term for supervising all our unsheltered programs that we have here at Poverello House. We're an organization about 180 people. We have experienced growth through our partnership with the City of Fresno and the State Encampment Resolution Fund. And this was we first started with IRF1, which turned out to be a pilot program. And this is for the state encampment area, as we can see here, which is around Poverello House and the downtown area. The encampment area is several square miles. It's between State Route 41 and Highway 99. This is the largest encampment that was in the city of Fresno. It's also been the longest standing encampment that has fluctuated since 2002. Our goal for this is to address this encampment and provide an easy access to people who had services. To services which included outreach, interim shelter, and also permanent housing. As I had said before, the downtown area is between State Route 99 and State Route 41. The majority of the encampment residents have been unhoused for 5+ years. What we discovered in IRF1 and our residents is that they had a long history of being chronically homeless and also had mental health and substance abuse issues. A lot of them were elderly, had disabilities. What we did know that this encampment did have a very strong sense of community about it, even though it was scattered. Most of the residents did know each other. And we, again, as I said, IRF1 Services was operating as a pilot program for the city of Fresno. Our hope was to repeat this process throughout the city of Fresno. What we did on the first IRF1 is provide additional outreach and navigation staff focus on their efforts in the design encampment to build rapport and offer individual shelter at the Village of Hope, which is located in the heart of the encampment. Once an individual entered shelter, navigation was provided, which included wraparound services to medical, mental health, employment services, education, and housing. If you were unable to access shelter for whatever reason, because the encampment was quite large, the encampment at one point was about 160 people. We also provided navigation services for those who could not access shelter either because the shelter was full or had cycled in and out of shelter or had refused shelter for various reasons. We made sure that our caseloads were no more greater than 25 to 30. And the new innovative part of we decided to do this is add housing stability case management to newly housed individuals, so they would prohibit them from re-entering into homelessness. And that was one of the things that we knew about our encampment residents, is that they had a long history of homelessness. So to suddenly house them and not provide additional support, regardless of the program they had, would increase their chances of coming back to the encampment area. So once a person's housed, regardless of which program they use, they are assigned a housing stability case manager. And their goal is to keep you housing no matter what, and see what they can do and be creative. Work with landlords, work with the client, continue to link them to supportive services if that happens, and make sure that they ensure their housing status. So here are some of our IRF1 outcomes from the Village of Hope. We served over 191 individuals, 29 people were housed. We did put people into bridge housing. We also, which I'll talk a little bit about later when we go into IRF2. We also, through our unsheltered, were able to navigate 11 people into housing. And so this couple here was an example of a couple that had a really long history of homelessness. They were able to go into our Village of Hope, and we were able to link them into permanently housed, and they still remain housed. And the housing stability case managers are required to do at least weekly visits with them, in-person visits. So what we learned from IRF 1, from IRF 2, is that there was still a continued flow into our state encampment area. There is no way to seal off the downtown area from the rest of the world. We do know that people were attracted to the downtown area because there was a good access into services. Poverello House is the only shelter that provides, has an open campus. We have free Wi-Fi. We provide 3 meals a day. Also, we provide charging stations, showers, and laundry services. So that in itself is a natural attraction into the state encampment people for seeking services. So we also realized that our Village of Hope was always at capacity, and there were lots of people in our navigation waiting to get into shelter. We also realized that we needed to partner with more people with lived experiences for the next grant application. So in the next grant application for IRF 2 was quite a bit of beefed up application. What we did is we created several focus groups and survey groups. We did surveys of 108 people that were unsheltered in the encampment area, and these surveys ran from basic information to what do you want to see in what would be helpful for you to get out of the encampment. We interviewed our Village of Hope emergency shelter residents. That was 59 of them. They also did focus groups. We also talked to the people that were permanently housed through the encampment area, like what worked, what didn't work, what are you looking forward to, that kind of thing. What do you want to see in a program? What we discovered in our surveys is that people really wanted in our area immediate access to mental health services. And that that there were some people, although wanted access to mental health service, were a little resistant for whatever reason to access those services. We needed increased street navigation for people for any reason they cannot access emergency shelter services. We needed to reduce caseloads for our navigators because our navigators had, even though the caseloads were 25 to 30, because of the nature of our clientele, they needed to have less and pay more attention to them. We also discovered that we needed to provide more additional interim shelter for our people in the state encampment area. And we also figured out that through our surveys is that the people really wanted more enrichment at the actual emergency shelter, and discovered that enrichment activities was a great way to build rapport and also engage in people and services. So what we did was we added additional emergency shelter beds located outside the encampment area with more amenities. We also included new bridge housing opportunities for the people in the state encampment area if they wanted to move out of this area to another location just for a change of scene. It's very important to note that this state encampment area still has a very strong sense of community, so we are able to make that community stronger. We also added additional staff for enrichment activities and provided on-site mental health services and on-site mental health services. So every night we have, and during the day, we have both AA classes, self-esteem classes. These are not mandatory. We do a lot of self-esteem, team building classes, art. We do a lot of art therapy. We have somebody coming in from the art museum coming in, giving classes. We do a lot of storyboarding. We offer a lot of things. We even have cooking classes. We have yoga classes. What this does, it keeps people in the shelter and it stops them from going out into the community, because our second shelter is actually not in our state encampment area. And we did not want to impact the nearby businesses. It's a main corridor of our city. And we wanted to make sure that we were good neighbors. And the best way to do that was to have more activities and keep people wanting to stay in shelter. Again, 3 meals are provided a day. We also increased our outreach team from 2 to 8. We have 4 outreach staff that is going out specifically in the state encampment area. We also provided now a street clinician that goes out with the outreach team. The purpose of the street clinician is to get those people who are normally resistant to services to get back into any type of services to start that process. And that it can include people with severe mental illness, get them back to Department of Behavioral Health or to our own on-site services at Poverello House. So right now, the outreach team can have immediate linkages to mental health services, and that's what was most important. Counties are very overworked and overburdened, and it's very hard to make an appointment several weeks out and hoping that client will be there. Now that client can either get assessed or receive those services right away. We are partnering with the County of Fresno Department of Behavioral Health for a severely mentally ill diagnosis. We've been able to engage people directly back into medication and those services if necessary. We're also working with getting people, our street navigators, into entitlement benefits that they're entitled to, such as general relief and Medi-Cal and also cash aid. So again, we talked about, we established another interim shelter that include also bridge housing. So our IRF2 outcomes, please note that we have only been in this project since about June. We have served 284 people. We have housed 6 people, 1 in transitional housing, and 176 people are connected to emergency shelter. Our street clinician services, as you can say, they've started 2 months in about September, and they've already had 468 contacts. They're finding the majority of people are willing to engage. They are receiving basic needs. They are linked to services. Some have been able to go into rehab or to sober living type environments and also to detox. And they are currently 35 people are receiving street mental health services. Here are some of our our IRF2 outcomes. I think what we have discovered is, number one, we saw in IRF1 and we were able to house people very easily. Now at IRF2, there are now more and more people engaged in services, and we are seeing that it's kind of straining the current housing stock that we have in Fresno. Right now, Fresno only has a 3% vacancy rate. We have seen, like every other jurisdiction, huge rental increases. So that is definitely slowing down our ability to house our people in the encampment area. We have already served, we've been able to house 5 individuals. I think the lady down you see with the long hair, she has actually been homeless for over 10 years. So we are getting those that have been hardest to house, but it's definitely been a challenging. They are currently working with Housing Stability to ensure their outcome. So kind of the lessons we learned from IRF1 and 2, we are continuing to partnership with people with lived experiences to improve program design for all homeless response projects. We have found that one of the things to learn is, even though there may be challenges are identified, then we can work with them to address those challenges. We are going to be increasing our street mental health and medical health services. We do currently now have a multidisciplinary team that is going out with the outreach team that also includes street medicine. We need to increase opportunities for independent living homes. As we have discovered in both IRF1 and 2, new construction of any type of project is many years off, no matter how well everything goes, and is very expensive. And so we need to further concentrate on what we have existing in Fresno. And one of the things that we're really working with is working with people with shared housing and independent living homes. We do know that sometimes it's not very popular with our residents, but I believe it's all on how you frame it. And as you can see, our goal is to keep the community together. And so we think if they can share permanent housing together, that would be a better opportunity for them to accept it. We do know that we have to continue with our enrichment services. They've been very successful. We've been very surprised about how much people have voluntarily participated. They do not have to participate. Our ladies' night is very popular. We have once a week, and right now the men are protesting that they need to have their own night. So we'll have to figure it out. We just don't know what to do for dudes yet. So any feedback on that would be great. It doesn't involve dominoes and cigars and smoking. So We are finding out that population is harder to house due to a long history of homelessness and other disabling conditions. Many of our clients do have a long history of being homelessness, and we're finding that we have to work really hard with them and with potential landlords so they can work with them for them to be successful. And right now we are preparing for our IRF 3 application based on what our lessons we have learned on IRF 1 and 2. I know I went through that extremely fast. I don't know if anybody has any questions, concerns, or anything of that nature.